Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to a 2020 election prediction. We're going to be talking about Trump versus Cory Booker. And I've started this with a map that I could reasonably expect everybody to have safe states, where these are the states I would assume to be safe for both candidates. And when I say safe, I mean greater than 10% margins. I'm going to assume that Booker would choose someone like Biden from Delaware, or some, nondescript Democrat from a fairly Democrat state like Illinois or California or Oregon, Washington, New York, that type of thing. So Booker is a weird candidate because I don't see him having a lot of Midwestern appeal. He's kind of like, he's not establishment Democrat, but at the same time, he also, I don't think, can appeal to the entire Democrat base or the independents, because he has kind of that corporate, I don't want to call it corporate stink, but he's got a lot of corporate ties similar to Clinton, and he's not as progressive as maybe he tries to market himself. So I don't think he'd come off as genuine to a lot of the progressive crowd, and it would be seen in some ways as running Clinton but trying to disguise it with somebody who claims to be not in the same vein. That said, he is farther to the left than Clinton was, and I think a little bit farther to the left than a little bit farther to the left than Obama. The other thing I'm curious about is, I don't really like to talk about race or identity when it comes to candidates and whether or not they can cobble something together, simply because I don't think race matters. I at least attempt to treat every person by the content of their character, because that's the way it should be. So, and the other thing about that is I try to extend that to every other person and assume that they treat everyone by the same token, even though I know it's not true. Because maybe I'm an optimist. Maybe I have a higher view of humanity than I should. But I don't want to make it seem like I'm putting race or anything into it like that, because I think that just leads to a disingenuous style of making a prediction. I don't think the fact that Booker is an African American would help him as much as maybe it did Obama. And I'm not trying to say that Obama got elected because he's an African American. I think quite the contrary. I think that was secondary to the fact that he was seen as a candidate and a politician who could bring hope to America and pull America out of a really rough time that it was in. I think Obama's race it didn't actually matter. People voted for him because they believed in him. And he had a different style of charisma, but he was charismatic, still is in many ways. Even though I disagree with him and personally dislike his speaking style with a lot of the pauses, I can't deny that it's effective and it works for him. But anyway, I don't think Booker would be able to get together the Obama coalition again. I do think it he would get some increase in African American turnout, but I don't think it would be close to what it was in order to push North Carolina into his column. And if North Carolina is red, I'm assuming Georgia stays red. Arizona would probably still be red. And again, just those three, this is the Obama-Romney map. And this is what I believe Trump's floor is. I think without a serious shift in demographics, or at least the voting demographic of some of these states, I honestly don't think that a Republican can do worse than this in terms of states. At least not in the near future. That's probably going to change by 2030, but until around 2024, I really don't see this being a Republican getting fewer than this number of states. Remember, Texas is still 9 points in favor of the Republicans in a year with a bad candidate for Texas, where the Republicans had a bad candidate for Texas and the Democrats had a decent candidate for Texas. You know, that should tell you something. You know, I don't expect Texas to flip to the Democrats until the 2030s. You know, it'll be a swing state by then, but it's going to be a red-leaning swing state, unless self-identified Hispanics vote at much higher numbers than they have been. Because a lot of Hispanics in Texas identify as white. And a lot of them vote, and a lot of them vote Republican. And that's one of the that's an interesting thing to look at, is that Hispanics who identify as white often vote Republican. They may say white, but of Latin origin, you know. In a similar way to the Cuban population in Florida, which I don't think would go to Booker. And for that reason, I'm going to lean Florida to Trump. And like I said, I don't think Booker is really able to cobble together that moderate Midwestern coalition of which you need to appeal to the white working class in the Rust Belt and Upper Midwest. And I'm not sure Booker has that credibility. The ability to say, we're not going to take your guns, we don't want to increase gun control, you know, but we also want to be in favor of, you know, protecting your industries that you work for. And also support the unions that you've been a part of for a long time. And that's kind of what you have to do, is you have to play to the moderate crowd in the Rust Belt and Upper Midwest. And I'm not sure the Democrats want to anymore. Some of them do. The Bidens and Sanders definitely do, but people like Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, they don't. They want to, from what I've been reading and what I've been seeing of what they're doing, they're trying to appeal more towards identity. They're trying to appeal more towards a progressive crowd that is anything but moderate. I'm not sure that's going to play well in the Midwest, which I'll admit I don't have a lot of experience in the Midwest. I've known a few Midwesterners, dated one for 4 years, but I'm a Southern boy. I can tell you anything you need to know about the South. But I'm not 100% sure on the Rust Belt either way. So that's maybe why I have it the way I do sometimes. I'm also going to give Wisconsin to Trump, and that's kind of going to seal his presidency because, as we should expect, I'm going to give the at-large, not the at-large, but the second district to Trump in Maine, because I don't see him losing that district just yet. And I think with Booker, there would be a better than 50% chance, just barely better than 50% chance that Trump gets the at-large vote in Maine, too. Not sure about New Hampshire, but it was very close. I think maybe some of the comments Trump has made about some of the people from New Hampshire might keep him from winning that state. So I'm going to lean it to the Democrats, but that's a low confidence prediction. I'm also going to give Nevada to Trump. I'm not sure. Yes, I know it's supposed to be Nevada, but I say Nevada. Deal with it. New Mexico, I think both New Mexico and Colorado are just, I think that's maybe a bridge too far. Virginia, I think, would stay with Booker. He's not progressive enough to cause a lot of the fairly moderate Nova voters to not vote for the Democrat, considering Trump. Like I've said, it would take a Sanders level candidate when you talk about how far left you are. When you talk about how far left a candidate is, in order to flip the state of Virginia. I'm not a big fan of how Nova essentially runs the rest of the state, because we've got a lot of rural areas that aren't a big fan of that. Pennsylvania and Michigan are weird. I'm not sure how to call those. But if we think about it, Philadelphia would vote for Booker. Pittsburgh maybe would. I think it would all come down to Erie and whether in which counties in the Philly suburbs Trump wins. I think Trump would win Erie just because his message does play well in that area. Michigan, I think that's a bridge too far for Trump. Without a more unpopular Democrat, think Clinton, think Pelosi. If somehow Bob Menendez ran for president and won the Democrat nomination, him, and of course Minnesota, I think would be a bridge too far in that case, but I could be very wrong. So a slight decrease in votes from 2016, but a very similar win for Trump, and if Booker were to be the nominee. That would be my prediction as of today, and I'm kind of waiting until we start getting announcements for 2020. We have a few, but I'm still waiting for the 2020 election season to actually get kicked off after the midterms. I expect to hear the first real announcements in June of next year, 2019. And that's going to be exciting because we're going to get a lot of good guesses as to who's running by, I'd say, March or February. So this is really the time to start speculating as to who's going to run on the Democrat side. And if you guys want to see me do primary videos, I'm not going to do one candidate versus only one candidate because normally it doesn't work like that. Normally normally there's 3 or 4 who wind up getting delegates, but occasionally there's more. For example, in 2016, the Republicans had 17 people running who polled at 5% or more at some point. I expect the Democrats are going to have at least 10 people, probably more than that. I think the over-under should be at about 16. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. Have a nice day. Bye.